I hate beating around the bush, so I'll just come out and say it. I'm sorry. I let everyone down. I let my fans down. I let the people who rely on me to tell them what anime are good for some reason down. I let today's sponsor, Crunchyroll, which you can try free for 14 days by going to crunchyroll.com/basement down. But most importantly, I let Iruma-kun down. That sweet, precious, goodest of good boys, whose pure smile could melt the coldest demon's heart. I let you down. And Asmodeus Alice, you beautiful, brilliant idiot. Clara, my perfect gremlin. Kalego Sensei, you adorably angry, impotent little Pokemon. And Grandpa Sully. I'm sorry. I hurt you most of all by not telling everyone how great your grandson Iruma is all the time. That's right. I'll admit it. I slept on Mairimashita Iruma-kun. I didn't include it in my fall 2019 rundown, and I very nearly didn't mention it at all before the season ended next month. Which, as we all know, is the point when anime ceases to exist entirely, and we all forget about it. Like, did I make a typo while writing Rom? She didn't fight the white whale. Anyway, I know I can't make up for all the lost time I've cost you with these lovable man-eating monsters. But I hope that at the very least, I can make it up to you just a little by telling you how good this show is now, so that you can go watch it and then understand why you should be mad at me in the first place. And then you'll come back here to leave an angry comment, and then you'll watch the video again, and then you hear that heartfelt apology I just gave you, and you'll totally buy it and forgive me for everything, and then get mad at everyone who's getting mad at me online. Or you'll add it to your cringe compilation and talk about it on what passes for news shows these days. But either way, you'll be sharing it with everyone you know. And at the end of the day, isn't that what's really important? Welcome to the Demon School Iruma-kun, if you'd prefer to call it by its less fun to say name, is one of those shows that really grows on you, and it does so fairly quickly, but it doesn't leave the strongest first impression. Its charms lie in its writing, its impeccable comedic timing, its endearing characters, and the talented seiyuu who voice them, none of which are immediately apparent when you first begin watching. What is apparent, pretty much from the word go, is that this show is a bit rough around the edges. Well, edge, singular, because it's a circle on account of all the corners they cut to make it. Iruma-kun is almost never ugly. It's actually pretty impressive how consistently appealing its visuals are, despite how little the animators clearly had to work with. And during more important set-piece moments, like the musical numbers, did I mention there are musical numbers? Anyway, there are some times when it does look really good. It's just that the rest of the time, it is really clear that they didn't have enough something at Bandai Namco Pictures to get this done right. Be it animators, time, or probably not money, actually. It did get a 24-episode season, so someone must have really believed in it. And I absolutely understand why they would, because underneath that crusty layer of janky animation lies a gleaming nugget of comedy gold, just waiting to be polished up so the world can see it for all its glory. Iruma-kun, the character, not the show, is introduced to us as a miserable but truly kind-hearted young man who literally can't say no to anyone, ever, and thus finds himself being taken advantage of by everyone all the time, from classmates to employers to his own parents, whose callous exploitation of their hardworking son reaches its apex when they literally sell his soul to a devil for not nearly enough money. Luckily, Sullivan, the sinister archdemon who purchases Iruma, does know how much he's worth.
我が輩の
The whole world. Because Iruma is Sullivan's precious grandson now, whether he likes it or not. And the ancient, mighty avatar of evil, having entered his twilight years, wants nothing more than to dote on the little boy and to brag about his accomplishments and general adorableness to his demonic bridge club. Sullivan isn't just some weird, malicious kidnapper. He sincerely wants Iruma to have a normal, happy childhood, or else. And of course, that means he's gotta go to school. More specifically, he's gotta go to Babbles, an academy for adolescent demons just growing into their fangs and murderous urges, which seeks to shape them into productive members of demon society through daily rituals like the singing of its wholesome school anthem. Iruma is understandably a bit nervous about his prospects of fitting in at a new school in a new world where he doesn't know the customs or cultural norms, and also he's considered to be an exquisite delicacy. And unfortunately, his first draft survival strategy of pretend I don't exist and hope no one notices me is hampered somewhat by the fact that his granddad is the school chairman, and he wants everyone to know how wonderful his new grandson is all the time. Because we all know nothing endears a student body to a kid faster than seeing him get special treatment due to blatant nepotism. Actually, the student body warms up to Iruma pretty quickly when he unwittingly recites a deadly curse as part of his improvised class representative speech and accidentally comes off as a total badass as a result, but it still lands him on the shit list of the actual class rep whom his grandpa stole that spotlight from, Asmodeus Alice, a haughty, egotistical demon noble, descendant of the crown prince of lust, whose pedigree and prodigious magical power put him above all the common riffraff who, yeah, obviously Iruma kicks his butt pretty quick, but he does so totally by accident, as the only physical activity our protagonist excels at is dodging, which he does on pure instinct, honed from a lifetime spent in near constant danger. After his defeat, Asmodeus learns the taste of humble pie, and mistaking Iruma's frantic cowardice for brilliant combat strategy, as obviously that's the only thing that could ever defeat a demon as mighty as Asmodeus Alice, he swears eternal fealty to our protagonist as his servant and protector. Though Iruma's a pretty nice guy, so he quickly upgrades that to friend. Something that's a foreign concept in the chaotic and violent world of demons, but Iruma won't let that stop him from making way more of them. That's kind of the whole show, at least at first. Iruma goes around the school making friends with various eccentric demon kids while learning the ins and outs of the crazy world he's found himself thrust into. And what a world it is. What this show lacks in animation, it more than makes up for in its character designs and especially its background art. Everything in the underworld has an unapologetically spoopy air about it. Babbles is an old, twisted, creepy castle whose upper spires seem to only exist in eerie silhouettes, and whose hallways are adorned in skulls, spiderwebs, and other spooky motifs. When they do a school festival, even the banners they hang up come in Halloween-y colors. They are 100% committed to the bit. And while this ooky spooky setting will definitely appeal to anyone who appreciates the works of Tim Burton on an aesthetic level alone, it's also a surprisingly well-built world under that tween goth facade. This world is framed, as fictional underworlds often are, as a twisted reflection of our own reality. Babbles has your standard Japanese school bell jingle, for example. It's just that instead of emanating from a bell or speaker, it's screamed at students every morning by a massive disembodied ogre head that's grafted onto the roof of the bell tower. Also, the school has clubs, but, you know, demon-y clubs called battlers, and instead of just pressuring their kohai to join on account of being demons and all, the club senpais will straight up kidnap younger students if given the opportunity. It all makes for some quality satire of more conventional school manga, but you often get the sense that there are actually good reasons why the world is the way it is, beyond it just being funny that way. For example, demons settled their disputes by playing dodgeball, only like with magic and shit. But their version of dodgeball evolved from a slightly different game where the ball had teeth and would eat the losers, which itself was a replacement for a never-ending cycle of violence and war that tore the entire underworld apart. Iruma-kun's lore, generally speaking, hits a sweet spot between internal logical consistency and conceptual hilarity that I've seen few other fantasy comedies nail. I don't make comparisons to the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy often, and I don't do it lightly, but this comes very close to that level of making every little detail an uproarious joke, while also making it believable. A lot of great jokes arise from the fact that Iruma, as a human, interacts with the demon world in fundamentally different ways from its demon denizens. So like, just for example, every demon has a beastly familiar, which they summon in their youth, but they do it with the same ritual that a human would use to summon a demon to Earth. So when Iruma does it, instead of summoning a demon beast, he accidentally forms an unbreakable blood pact with his teacher. And it's just constantly the funniest thing. The joke of putting an arrogant, officious jerk who's used to respect and authority under the dominion of a meek and quiet character who's the object of said jerk's scorn isn't new, but what I like about Iruma and Kalego-sensei's relationship is that it develops and evolves in believable ways as the series goes on. So while they start out hating each other, Kalego eventually grows into really looking out for Iruma, who in turn learns to respect his teacher instead of just being scared of him. And every step of that emotional journey is hilarious. That balance of humor and believability can also be seen in the rest of the characters. Most of them are pretty off the wall, they are demons after all. Scary, scaly, hairy, slimy demons, and everything in between, with unique, wild, and bold designs to match their unique, wild, bold personalities. At the same time, a lot of them, the ones closest to Iruma specifically, show quite sincere human depth lurking beneath the zany, demonic surface. Take Clara, who is best girl, and also a very good girl. Yes, she is. Yes, she is. Clara is a gremlin, and not a lazily sexy waifu gremlin like Diva. No, I'm talking Dorito dust all over her face, Mountain Dew chugging fan art Diva. All Clara wants to do all the time is have fun, and be happy, and make other people happy, and also cause problems, because gremlin. She has magic pockets that can make literally anything, and she almost exclusively uses them to produce snacks and toys. That's just the kind of person she is. All of the demons around Clara see her as a weirdo to be avoided, except for a few who use her for her magic-free shit powers, and she just rolls with it, because after years of being misunderstood and shunned by basically everyone around her, she's kinda accepted that's the best she's gonna get. But then she rolls into Iruma's life, and because he literally can't say no, she ends up roping him and Alice into her silly games, which they both really enjoy, actually. Even if Alice-kun is loath to admit it, nobody would commit that hard to playing house if they weren't having at least a little fun. Suddenly, for the first time in her life, Clara has people outside her family who genuinely like her for who she is, not what she can do for them. And even though she's a chaotic neutral ball of pure manic energy, that moment hits her just like it would anyone. Iruma-kun has this incredible ability to make you empathize with its characters, even when their extreme personalities drive their actions into the realm of pure absurdity. And I do mean it when I say this show gets absurd. Clara and her family are prone to breaking into fully choreographed diegetic musical numbers whenever they get together, which the other characters are fully aware of, but don't take part in because this show definitely is not a musical. The anime uses a jarring shift in tone and genre to emphasize just how bizarre these characters really are, even in the context of an already bizarre setting. And it does so without breaking the fourth wall, which is kind of incredible. Clara, the funny... Okay, I promise I'll stop talking about Clara soon, but she is the funniest character in the entire series, delivering great, stupid one-liners and delightful background gags basically every time she's on screen. At the same time, though, she's also one of the most sympathetic characters in the show. Her ineptitude when it comes to the art of seduction, an elective course taught at the school by a succubus, is hilarious to watch, but it's also understandably frustrating for her to fail so hard when she really is trying her best at it. And it's profoundly cathartic to see her finally succeed, not by conforming to some outside standard of sexiness, but by simply being her genuine self. Because both the humor and the humanity in Iruma-kun are tied to the same conflicts, it's able to swing quickly between funny and touching moments without inducing tonal whiplash. That said, the show leans way harder into comedy than it does drama, and that's a big part of why I love it so much. Even when the series' storyline swerves into more serious shonen battle-adjacent territory, it consistently prioritizes telling good jokes wherever it can. It even subverts the dark subversion that usually comes when shonen comedies go in that direction by giving us one of the most surprising and out there villain motivations I have seen in a long while. Given that Iruma-kun is, in hell, it only makes sense that he'd be surrounded by a few cartoonishly evil monsters, but evil, even of the cartoonish variety, is a relative concept, and those monsters can be really lovely once you get to know them. The delight of doing so is a big part of what makes this series feel rewarding to keep up with in the long term. When Iruma first enters Babels, he's surrounded by scary, unfamiliar faces. There are a ton of unique and wild designs in that first crowd shot alone. And remarkably, all of those crazy-looking monsters are recurring background characters with at least somewhat discernible personalities, and many of them are given names and speaking roles as the series progresses. Eventually, these characters and the once alien and frightening world they inhabit become cozy and familiar. For Iruma, hell starts feeling like home. We can see this progression most clearly in how he relates to his grandfather. At first, Iruma sees Sullivan as overbearing and inconvenient, but over time, he comes to appreciate just how much his new granddad and his surrogate mom, Opera-san, really do for him on a day-to-day basis. They grow organically into a proper family where everyone loves each other. And Sullivan reveals himself to be one of the most complicated and interesting characters in the entire cast, all the while keeping his frantic Grandpa Moe energy, what Americans call the burn, at a constant 11. It's not easy to have characters in a comedy develop and evolve without losing what makes them funny, and I can't overstate how impressive it is that Iruma-kun pulls it off with such consistency. There are so many great characters I haven't even had a chance to mention, in part because I don't want to spoil any more jokes than I already have, including a cavalcade of absolutely adorable monster girls whose designs, for once, aren't constrained by the very narrow limitations of the moe style. Like, this is the designated class hottie. This show is so good. Despite its humble appearance, Mairimashita Iruma-kun is one of the strongest anime comedies in recent memory, and a shining example of how good humor can be enhanced and grounded by the strengths of long-form shonen storytelling. Also, almost forgot to mention this, the OP and ED absolutely slap. It's high time we all stop sleeping on this wonderful anime. On that note, Spectre from this season is another great spooky series with incredible production values and strong, unconventional mystery writing that I really wish I'd mentioned in my winter list, but I don't want to bog this video down with too much good anime, so I'll save talking about that for a later date. That said, both Welcome to the Demon School Iruma-kun and Spectre are available streaming through today's sponsor, Crunchyroll. And if you're gonna check out the one, you may as well check out both, because Crunchyroll gives you unlimited access to every HD streaming anime on their entire service for the low price of $7.99 a month. And you don't even have to pay that up front. If you head to crunchyroll.com/basement, you can get a 14-day free trial to watch all the anime you can handle. With new subtitled episodes releasing the same day they air in Japan, Crunchyroll always has something fresh and exciting to enjoy. Whether you're into niche comedy anime or you're just looking to keep up with the latest and greatest smash hits out of Japan, they have you covered. And their player works on tablets, phones, computers, consoles, smart TVs, and basically every other device you can name, so you can take your anime with you wherever you want to go. Head to crunchyroll.com/basement to start your free trial today, or if you have a membership already, click the other link in the doobly-doo to jump right into watching Iruma-kun. I'm Geoff Thew. I hate beating around the bush, so I'll just come out and say it. I'm sorry.